how important is it to hire A-level talent when it comes to sales, right? The top of the top, high skill level when it comes to learning how to do outbound, when it comes to booking calls, booking appointments, closing deals, etc., right? How important is skill level when it comes to hiring over anything else in your business? If you guys are in the B2B space and you're managing a team or doing sales, maybe you're on a sales team, you want to pay very close attention to this video. So I'm going to tell you guys about how earlier in 2021, about mid-year, we actually lost our top tier talent individual who was doing outbound and booking appointments and being trained on actually closing the deals. And hopefully we'll save you guys from making a very costly 7-figure mistake. And luckily we caught this early. Okay. It's crazy at the time we're recording this. It's already 2022. Literally 2021 flew by. So super pumped to be diving in and doubling down on outbound even more going into the new year, because outbound sales is just crushing it. So if you're watching this video and you don't currently have an outbound strategy in place, if you're not doing any type of like cold outreach and booking appointments, you're missing out. Tons of revenue literally on the table right now. Outbound for all of our clients beats paid advertising. Yes, let me say that again. Outbound right now is beating paid advertising, because you got to remember, if you're contacting people on a list, doing outreach, especially if you're doing paid advertising and acquiring those, right? How much more revenue do you think you'd get if you were to reach out to all the individuals that are actually on your list? You're even paying to acquire. So multiple avenues with our company and our clients, and right now outbound just crushes. But when it comes to hiring, right? Maybe you hear that and you're like, well, I have to find people with talent, right? I get emails for this all the time. Top tier, A-level talent. Who's the best closers that you know, and who can do this, who can do that, right? So let me tell you a story. Let me tell you about what happened early in 2021. So we're at the point where I've already gone through a couple batch of hires. You guys know how it is when it comes to hiring, right? You have people that stick, especially when it comes to outbound. Not everyone likes doing cold calls. I like to call them warm calls because we warm them up first, but I digress. And so one person stuck, and this individual, when he had first started, he was about 4 months in, and his skill level was like nothing. Like he never had no outbound experience, was only told about, closing and doing inbound and never, never really picked up the phone and called somebody out of the blue. Right. And for the longest time, he didn't even think it was possible until he actually started, I started working with them, training them, started booking appointments, and got really, really good at booking appointments on the calendar. And so he was top tier. And then, so once we kind of do the data and the numbers, we knew, okay, from outbound, if we have X amount of appointments, discovery calls, and X amount of strategy calls, we know we're going to get X amount of closers, right? You all know this. It's KPIs for your company. Well, so much time went by, and we knew that we had to go and hire more closers and more setters, right? So we had to get people to go and duplicate, right? Put in more numbers, book more appointments. And so the person, his skill level got to here, so we'll call him the top tier talent on our team, and we had to hire individuals. So I think we hired about 5 more people who were going to work with them. So all my time and attention went to focus on to teaching this new batch on how to do outbound. And so about a month and a half goes by, and we're looking at the numbers. And then, so I'm going to call the top tier individual who had the skill level, I'm going to call him person A, okay? And then out of the 5, the other person who was actually booking an appointment and bringing a revenue for the company, we're going to call person B, okay? So B is here, literally starting at ground level, didn't have outbound experience, not nearly as much as person A, right? Still learning. In fact, person B, English wasn't even his first language. So now he's dealing with language barrier, not really having the skill set, but literally had, the hustle and grit and mindset of person B, just like literally next level. Just cut out for the sales game. Still to this day, still one of the best hires that we've ever had. So about a month and a half goes by, and we're looking at the numbers, and we're looking at the revenue that we're closing. And guys, to give you guys context, we're talking high ticket packages. The lowest time we had launched a new Done With You program that was in beta that was selling for I think like 7,500. It was like 5K or 7,500 at the time, which is now even out of beta. Now in 2022, it's open to the public. It's like a 15K program, right? And the next tier package was 35K, 50K, and then top tier 100K packages. So imagine literally calling out of the blue, doing cold calls and cold outreach and closing super high ticket packages. Right? But our main focus was going to be the lower ticket more than the higher ones. And that was the main focus. So we're looking at the numbers, and the revenue was coming in. And at this time, right, they were just doing sets. And I'm doing what I do best, like closing deals, right, handling all the calls. And it got to the point where it was overwhelming. I just had too many booked calls. Everyone got so good at booking appointments that there was no time for follow up. And you guys know this. Fortune's in the follow up. So we're looking at the revenue, and of all the deals that are coming in, I went to the spreadsheet and was saying, okay, which revenue came from who? Because the numbers were pretty much identical. So person B's revenue from person A's revenue, right? Now, mind you, we're all closing it. I'm training person A now how to be able to close his own deals because I'm flooded with all these other 5 people handling those. So I needed person A to not only be able to book appointments, but step up and start closing, right? And we're looking at the revenue and the numbers. And what was interesting is if you looked at the chart of the numbers, person A and person B's revenues are almost identical. In fact, person B had about $200 to $300 more in revenue, right, from all of them. And if you look at the spreadsheet, the numbers of the discovery calls and the strategy calls and closing calls were pretty much identical, right? But here's what was interesting. Because person A's skill level was so much higher than person B, he had significantly less dials, okay? Let me give you the context. So just so you understand the framework, what the process is, right? We do cold outreach, we do cold email campaigns, we do cold social media campaigns, and then when we're ready to attack the list, we send out SMS campaigns first, and then we dial it. If you want to know like an overview of our appointment setting process, I already have a video on my channel that I posted. I'll put a link to that below. You can go check it out. Literally just mimic it. Promise you it works. We book appointments like crazy. So we send out an SMS campaign. So to give you context as a company, so when we send out text messages first to a list, right, we typically give our team batches of 100 at a time, typically every other day. But at this time, I think we're doing about 100 per day. So they'd have about like 500 leads typically, and we give them some time to work them. So anywhere from 200 to 500 total for the week. So as these text messages come out, as a company, so we're paying for SMS. Every text message that goes out to a cold audience, our company has to pay for, which isn't that much, right? Adds up in volume. I think it's like 2 or 3 cents a text. I don't know. Look it up on Twilio. So all text messages are going out. But here's what's interesting. So person A, even though their revenue is identical, person B's revenue that was coming in, right? Now, mind you, he wasn't closing them. I was closing these deals. But where the source of the deals were coming from for booked appointments, person B it was slightly more revenue than person A, okay? But here's what's interesting. When you looked at the numbers, person A had 5 times more leads of text messages going out than person B, right? Interesting. And we found this out when we're looking at the math of our expenses. Like, okay, so person A is sending out way more text messages than person B, right? But person B's booked appointments are identical. It didn't make sense, right? So from a logistics standpoint, it's like, okay, person A is booking appointments at the same rate as person B, right? Person B is having to do way more work and effort because person B's skill level isn't at a person A, okay? Let's give you guys to picture that. But in terms of leads being used, person A had a crap ton more leads that were being used, right? So someone on my team, our lead distributor reached out to me. He's like, hey, person A wants more leads. And should I give it to him? Like, well, okay, yeah, sure. But I've already given him like a lot this week. And I was like, huh, interesting. I wonder how'd he go through them so quickly? And she's like, I don't know. So we go and look at the data, and significantly more text messages are going out for person A, and then here's person B with way less. I think person B only had about 200 or 300 for the week to this individual's 500 plus. I think it was at like 700 during that week. And then so I go from looking at text messages significantly more, and then I look at the dials. And here's what was interesting when I was looking at the data. Person A's dial count was like minuscule, like literally like 1, 2, 2, 3. So the whole week, I think it was like a total of 11 dials, right? Person B was following the process and actually calling the entire list, doing 100 dials, like you're supposed to, 100 dials, literally calling everyone, right? So the dial count was much higher with person B. It's like, okay, interesting. Person A is going, significantly more leads, is still booking the same amount of appointments as person B, but where our expenses are higher because his dial count was way lower. So we reached out to person A, top dog, has the most skill on the team, and was trying to understand what was going on. Like, hey, how are you booking the same amount of calls as person B, but you have significantly more leads? You have way, way more volume. We want to make sure that we're converting these leads into business, right? We don't want to waste them. And person A said, well, I'm only calling the people who have a positive response to the messages. So just so you guys know, our copy, when you have a good offer, even if you're doing SMS or outreach, when you have a good offer, like it just works. So we get positive responses just from cold text campaigns all the time to turn into booked appointments just because our offer is just so damn good. So because the copy and it resonated so much and we have it refined, every time someone would be like, yes, hey, I'm interested, tell me more, he would call them. So that's what person A was doing, okay? He would literally call his people and, those would be the percentages up there. Whereas person B was calling everybody regardless. So even though person B, if you were to listen to their calls, not even the same spectrum, like person A like had it, could deal with resistance, was good at booking appointments, making a normal conversation, person B was still learning. But because person B was calling everybody, the dial count was significantly more. Putting in that output and that volume was still matching in appointments and was being more cost effective for the company because we're not having, the expenses was low. We're paying less per text message and still getting just as much booked appointments as person A who had more skill set. So then got me thinking, I was like, holy cow, right? Numbers don't lie. The data's literally there. So I told person A, I'm like, listen, if look what person B's doing, dude, with your skills, you know how much money you can make? You know the potential of you making commissions if you would just put in the same output as person B, right? With your skill level, you would literally knock it out of the park because over the past 4 months of me working with him, he got really good in a short period of time. And I broke down the math of the conversions from dials to booked appointments and showed him, listen, if you did this output, here's your potential based off of your numbers. Here's the potential for our company and potential for money in your pocket, right? And it just wasn't clicking, right? You understand when it comes to outbound, like not everyone likes putting forth the effort, right? Doing dials, like you just calling people out of the blue, especially if you're learning it, compared to positive responses, it sucks, right? A lot of people don't want to do it. They don't have the mental fortitude to understand, like, hey, it's a numbers game, and this is how you grow a company. This is how you win, especially in the B2B game. If you master putting in volume and calling and putting in the output, you're going to win in the B2B game, right? You're going to beat everyone paid advertising. You never have to worry about your account getting shut down. You're not worried about Facebook and Instagram or any of that stuff, or an ad not getting approved, right? You can literally go and print money out of thin air, right? And so it wasn't until person A literally started dialing in 1 week. So I went to him and said, hey, okay, I got everybody over on Zoom. I took literally the whole collective team. And I said, hey, it's going to be mandatory, right? We're all going to sit on Zoom. Everyone's going to call the entire list. We're not going to waste leads. I wanted to see what would happen. And I wanted to prove to person A that if he put in the same output, that craziness would happen because the skill was there. And here's what's interesting, right? When we did the dials in the period of 1 week, he literally matched the same amount of dials total for the past 4-month period, was crammed into 1 week, right? Person A put in the same output as person B. And what do you think happened, right? That's right. Person A knocked it out of the freaking park, right? Was putting in the dials, set a record on the team, booked seven qualifying, right? A lot of our people, to give you guys context, who don't make it to a book strategy call, it isn't because they weren't interested. It's because they weren't qualified enough to make it there. We don't have scarcity mode. We genuinely qualify people to make sure to be a good fit for whatever the product and service is going to be, okay? So 7 qualified individuals in 1 day of doing the dials, right? So then I let them all run for the whole week. So he set a record, booked 7 appointments, and that week, on his own, closed the deal without my help, zero of my help, booked the appointments, was knocking out of the park, booking tons of appointments for the week, closed the deal on his own, paid in full for a done-for-you service that was at a $15K package. He literally brought in $15,000 worth of revenue in 1 week. Okay, so $15K for the company comes in, with his skill level combined with the output. Okay, so boom, all this pressure was built up in 1 week. 1 week of pressure, and also collected revenue immediately. Now, you all know, especially if you're in business, the fortune's in what? The follow-up. You're always going to have, from all the pressure you build up, revenue's going to trickle in later. You have your 30, 60, 90-day revenue that comes in from following up and going back in and reconnecting with them and can still squeeze out tons of revenue. But here's what was happening. This is interesting. After he built up all the pressure himself, knocked it out of the park, decided that doing outbound and stuff wasn't for him. Wanted to go and do another opportunity, right? Which, I don't know how the opportunity went. I don't know. I think maybe he had started his own business or did whatever. But literally, it was at the point where, hey, it's great. And I know after just collecting money, like I literally had the epiphany. Oh my gosh, you can literally call people out of the blue. And I did this. I brought in money, right? Had that epiphany. And I remember sitting there looking at the numbers just from that 1 week. And I can see the next week and the next month and the next 2 months, and was like, and I remember just asking him, like, listen, I know it's a lot of work stuff, but are you sure? Are you sure that you want to quit? Because look at what you just did in 1 week's period. Look at the data. This is just 1 week, right? So, unfortunately, we let the individual go, right? We always want to do what's best for the employee and thank him for the opportunity. And so the person with the most skills and talent left after building up pressure. What do you think happened next from all the pressure that was built up? So out of 1 week's worth of pressure, so just to put in context, because the skill level was there over time and without ever putting in as much effort as person B, right? Person B and the other individuals on the team, right, went after and followed up with the rest of the people that person A had already connected with, took over the appointments and took over everything. You know how much money and revenue the business got from that 1 week worth of effort? $70,000. $70,000 of revenue came in for the business from 1 week of the effort of output that he was supposed to be doing the whole time from the leads, and person A quit. So the business, we still collected the revenue, right? We still got the revenue from that 1 week's worth of effort. But 1 week, to put that in context, just so you guys can conceptualize this, let's say on average, if you were to multiply and duplicate that every single week over 52 weeks, that's $3.6 million of revenue from doing cold outbound from one individual. 3.6 million. In terms of commissions, that would have been six figures, multiple six figures in this individual's pocket, right? Later, and we hadn't even run ads at that point. Later, a few months later, we started running ads. We started getting more qualified leads coming in and booking significantly more appointments. And now, 2022, we're scaling with webinars, paid ad. Of course, we're still doing outbound, but $3.6 million of revenue had the volume with his skill level kept going in. Right? I wanted to conceptualize, put that into context that so the other people literally capitalize off that 1 week worth of effort, but just imagine what would happen if the output stayed the same. So after having that lesson, right, the moral of the story, so you guys know, is it's not so much focus and stressing over the person with the highest skill level. That's irrelevant. That was proven by person B. Person B didn't have the same level of skill here. Person A was putting minute amount of output and effort in and was matching person B. Person B caught up to his skill level because of the actual output, right? Volume is more important in your business, especially in outbound. Volume will always trump skills. Volume will always be more important to you, your company, and your business than stressing over skill level, right? We're at the point now where we know our numbers and our KPIs that we don't have to stress over people with no talent, right? Like I'm not stressed and worried about somebody that has, months and years of experience doing outbound. I know that I can take somebody with average or no skill set, put them in our process and train them and hit KPI to where the company is still profitable and they're making money. And inevitably over time, what do you guys think happens with that individual with putting in volume? You guessed it. Their skill level goes up and will increase with them. When the volume helps their skill level increase, your company revenue increases. So now in 2022, we had our morning appointment this year. So give you guys context from hiring people with zero skill level last year in 2021. You want to know what our conversion rate on cold calling was? 5.39%. 5.39%. That is absolutely insane. I know I've worked with teams with multiple 7 and 8 figure influencers who are spending money on ads to cold traffic to a webinar and are profitable converting at 1%, right? And companies, most people's goal is to go from 7 to 8 figures as they double down on their webinar and they try to get it to 3%. We're converting 5.39% off of cold traffic, cold calling, doing outbound from our numbers or data. That is insane. That is how refined the point has gotten, even with going through and flushing and following a volume and actually doing follow-up and refining the process, refining the scripts and everything, right? And here's what's interesting. Through doing so as a company, because we knew what the resistance was, we know the objections, we know what the mindset of the avatar and the audience is, we were able to perfect our ads and our webinar, right, from all the data from doing outbound. So not only does it help you with generating revenue, but like, you know, without a shadow of doubt, your entire process is going to convert when it goes to paid ads, right? So when our ads were working, people are like, oh man, these ads are knocking it out of the park. Well, yeah, no crap. We literally just tested it out doing cold outreach. Of course, the same process is going to work, cold market and, you know, in advertising. There's no guesswork. We literally just did the same thing. So if you're sitting here watching this and you're trying to get in the B2B game, you know, you're trying to scale your business and you're trying to manage a team, don't stress over skill level. You need to stress over process. You need to stress over, how can I take a person with 0 to no experience, put them into this process and still hit volume to where the company's profitable and they're profitable, and inevitably their skill will actually increase. So literally, if you do not focus on volume and you just make all your time and attention just on skill level, you're literally making a very costly mistake. It can cost you multiple 7 figures, right? You know, and you know, it sucks obviously taking the blow and losing that individual because of the skill level that he had. But I would rather take people who are willing to put in the effort and do the output and put in the volume, because your business is going to win over time and they are going to win over time, and inevitably their skill level will absolutely increase. That is how you grow and you scale a business and a company, focusing on process. Because here's the thing, when it comes to A-level talent, right? If your business isn't at a point yet, because you're still like in the beginning stages of going and testing, like this is a new offer that was like literally in beta for my client. You know, it was literally like in beta, and the top tier was done for you. So it was a done with you program, new and done for you services. But when it comes to scaling, you got to understand, A-level talent that's out there, like in the industry, they're already, A-level talent is already making A-level income, right? When you get to the level in your business and your career where you can go out and get the top tier closers, the top tier appointment setters and stuff, right? You better be willing to pay top tier to get them to step away from their opportunity, because A-level talent is out there making A-level income. But here's the beauty of it. You don't have to stress in the beginning. If you're still early out, or you're trying to get to the point where you're ready to scale and duplicate and grow your company, you don't have to stress over it, because volume by pure numbers, guys, that's what's amazing about looking at the numbers and data when it comes to outbound. Numbers do not lie. Just as much as I showed this individual, like the amount of money this individual would have made, like literally, like with the skill level, if it just would have put in the output, right? But some people, and I get it, right? Some people have a mental block when it comes to doing it. Not everyone wants to put in the effort and do outbound, right? It is what it is, right? So I'd rather have someone who can put forth the effort and volume and learn skill over time than stressing over just finding someone with A-level talent, because you can take people with no experience and grow it up. So if you're in a position of hiring right now, I hope this was valuable to you. And you know, like I said, just really focus on process. Focus on how can we put in the numbers, how can we put in the output to be able to get results, and then obsess over refining your process over time, and you'll literally never make that 7-figure mistake, and you'll be on the flip side, right, making 7-figure profit. And if you're watching this and you're on a sales team, and you know, maybe you don't own the business and you're just in a position, maybe you're doing appointment sets, you're doing closing, you're doing outbound yourself, right? Instead of just focus on volume over time and consistency, and I promise you, your skill level is going to grow over time, and your commissions and your money in your bank account is going to thank you for it. So if you guys found value for this, let me know what your biggest takeaway was in the comments. I hope you guys like and share the video. As always, if you're in the B2B industry, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I have tons more knowledge and stuff to give you guys and let you know strategies we're currently testing now, getting you guys up to date on things that we've tested before, and all the learning lessons that I've had along the way of the past 5 years, literally building, starting, scaling teams for multiple 7- and 8-figure influencers, especially in the outbound game, because it's just significantly more profitable. So I hope you guys got value from this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode on the show.